Good afternoon. I'm Wayne Brown, President and CEO of Michigan Opera Theater. I'm delighted to welcome you to the unveiling of MOT's 21-22 season of opera and dance performances designed for in-person presentations. I am joined by colleague Yuval Sharon, the Gary L. Wasserman Artistic Director for today's briefing. I'm pleased to acknowledge Ethan Davidson, Chairman of Michigan Opera Theater Board of Directors, along with members of the Board of Directors and Trustees, members of the MOT Orchestra and Chorus, the administrative staff, subscribers, supporters, and the general public. Last week marks the date in 2020 when Michigan Opera Theater, along with countless opera companies, symphony orchestras, museums, and other arts organizations, began an intermission that continues 1 year later. Yet, 3 months following the appointment of Yuval Sharon, Detroit was introduced to the latest downtown performing arts venue, the Detroit Opera House Parking Center, where the premiere of Twilight Gods was unveiled. The performances sold out within 48 hours of the announcement. I suspect that there were a few cases in which a new performing arts space has received such thunderous acclaim. Twilight Gods was a phenomenal success for MOT, and I regret that hundreds of patrons were unable to experience the event. In preparing for today's season announcement, our plan was to suggest that if you missed Twilight Gods in Detroit, our production is being mounted by the Lyric Opera of Chicago next month. However, performances scheduled there are also sold out and were gone within 48 hours. What is it, Yuval, about your remarkable gift that inspires so many? MOT and Detroit have indeed been fortunate to benefit from the extraordinary vision that Yuval Sharon has brought to our community, and by extension to the performing arts near and far. Twilight Gods can now be considered a prologue to what follows, as you will soon learn. Our 21-22 season is designed to leverage favorable weather conditions with outdoor programming from May of this year through September, and indoor programming designed to take place between next February through June, in tandem with the 50th anniversary of Michigan Opera Theater and the upcoming centennial of the Detroit Opera House. 50 years ago, through the vision of David DiChiera, Michigan Opera Theater was launched in downtown Detroit as an entity committed to the art form, as well as the Detroit community. In going forward, the breadth of artistic appointments, collaborations, and partnerships that have been created for next season offers evidence of a new emerging vision for MOT under the artistic leadership of Yuval Sharon, with a nod to the next 50 years. Next season will mark a time of new and renewed collaborations. I wish to especially express appreciation to our friends at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, led by its chairman, Mark Davidoff, and its president, Ann Parsons, for making it possible for their music director, Yair Binamini, to lead a Michigan Opera Theater performance that you will soon learn more about. Through the opening event of our 21-22 season, history is being made with the first time that the music director of the DSO will conduct an MOT performance. I'm delighted that this milestone is taking place during the first year of new artistic leadership for both MOT and the DSO. Today, we affirm another underlying message, that in Detroit, we are one community, inclusive, diverse, respectful, and affirming to all. I'm pleased to announce that we are delighted to welcome a new member to the MOT artistic team, and by extension, to the leadership team. For several months, we have been looking for a potential artistic partner for Yuval to oversee musical matters. Why not start with one of the most formidable performers on the opera stage, to serve in such a role. MOT is fortunate to have attracted Christine Goerke to the newly formed position of Associate Artistic Director. She dominates opera stages around the world, and between performances, she returns home. So why not invite this extraordinary talent to consider Detroit as her new home base? And when she is able to be here, MOT will benefit from both her on and off stage presence. This 3-year appointment aligns with Christine Goerke's incredible international career that continues to result in opera and concert appearances on stages throughout the world. All of us with MOT are appreciative to members of the board and trustees who together have declared their support for the creation of the Associate Artistic Director position. Special thanks to Paul and Mary Sue Ewing, Carl and Marianne Fontana, Elaine Fontana, and to Richard Sonnenklar and Gregory Haynes. Thanks to all. And now, I wish to invite Christine Goerke to the MOT family. Christine?
Hi, Wayne. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I am beyond thrilled to be joining the MOT family, and what better way than to find a partnership with someone whom I admire so much, someone who has done what we've all needed to do during this pandemic, during this difficult time, has innovated, has thought outside of the box, who will continue to think outside of the box. It is a great joy to partner with the amazing Yuval Sharon and to take on and celebrate his vision for the next 50 years for MOT. I have had many comments already about wondering whether or not I'm going to be stopping singing. I'm not going to be continuing my career. That is not what this position is designed to be. This position is designed for me to become a part of a company that I have great respect for, a company that I see as one of the leaders moving forward when we are through with this crisis, and a way for me to be able to learn from the inside out how a company that is continuing to innovate, continuing to grow, functions. So we have so many things to get to. I am not going to keep you, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I want to thank everyone involved. I thank you, Wayne. I thank you, Yuval. I am beyond honored to be a part of this family, and I look forward to serving you and the community for the next 3 years, hopefully longer. Thank you. I'm also supposed to be throwing now, leave it to the soprano to miss the cue, to our Gary Wasserman, artistic director, the wonderful Yuval Sharon.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thank you, Wayne, and welcome to the team, Christine. I am just overjoyed to have you as part of the artistic team that's shaping the next 50 years for MOT. And I have to say that when MOT appointed me to be the first Gary L. Wasserman artistic director, Wayne and Ethan and the whole board of directors, I think, made a very strong decision to put artists first. And artistic sensibilities were going to be the thing that leads this organization. And I think your appointment, Christine, really affirms that it's not a one-off with me, but is a continuation. And I think only opens up the path to where we're going to go as a company in a way that I'm so excited to see where it goes. We have another appointment that I'm thrilled to announce today. We are inaugurating the season with our very first artist in residence. And for this role, I have asked Davóne Tines to be with us throughout this season, culminating in what I think is going to be a landmark performance at the end of the season, which I'll get to momentarily. But I just want to say that Davóne, who has been triumphant in so many roles, from contemporary music to classic repertoire in theaters all over the world, he'll be joining us to engage with Detroit-based artists, with churches, with Black-owned businesses, with cultural institutions, to focus on relationship building between MOT and the larger Metro Detroit community. The residency will combine the efforts of MOT's education, community engagement, and marketing departments to help lay the groundwork for the longer term goal of making sure MOT is fully reflecting its community moving forward. Yeah, and you'll hear directly from Davóne, as you'll see him on the call with us. You'll hear from him directly after I present the season. But I'd just like to say that I'm just so honored to be working with you, Davóne, and with Christine to shape this future of MOT together. So we'll turn the mic over to you in just a moment. But I want to see, before we get to that, I just want to say something that Wayne brought up earlier, which is that the 2021 season was meant to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the company as founded by David DiChiera. At the time, the company's name was Overture to Opera. But I don't need to tell anyone listening that those plans for a celebration were upended, and the Detroit Opera House sat dark when it should have been brightly aglow. So our return to the Detroit Opera House this season carries with it a tremendous significance. It's kind of like a 50+1 in a way. It's a notion that actually makes sense when you think about it in the terms of the continuation, that we are building off of a strong foundation, but we're actually going to take this season to focus on what the next 50 are really about. Meaning we know where we've come from, but we're also on the road to somewhere new. The way that I think all culture must do, as we've changed so much as a country and as a city in the wake of everything that we've experienced over this past year. It means we are undertaking an adventure together. And that adventure, I think, has an extra significance this season, as we'll be going out into performance venues all around the city, outside of the Detroit Opera House, and into new venues. If there's an overriding idea, I think, tying the season together, I have to say it's the notion that opera can and should speak to us directly about our everyday lives. The Italian school of verismo, which was pioneered by Mascagni and Puccini, employed the epic scale of opera to magnify the experiences of people who could be our neighbors, people who we pass on the street, those whose private lives might seem forever closed to us. But the music and the poetry and the theater and the performance opens up all of that for everybody to share, and for all of us to grow, and for all of us to see the world with new eyes. I think we all know this remains the urgent work of our civilization and our country. And opera can lead that embrace of a more empathetic view of our neighbor. The concerns of Mascagni and Puccini, their works are part of this season, but they have conversation partners with contemporary works, 3 contemporary works, in fact, one by Janine Tesori and Tazewell Thompson, one by Robert Javier Rodriguez, and one by Anthony Davis. And they all share that idea that opera opens up new possibilities in empathy. So if we've been calling the pandemic a kind of an intermission for the theater, maybe we can think about this next 50 in terms of 2 acts, an act 1 and an act 2. Act 1, I like to call as out and about. And in this act, we will be going outside of the Detroit Opera House. We will be going into 3 different venues, and we'll also be exploring a range of performance ideas. We'll go from a concert presentation through a fully staged opera, and finally into performance art, which means we are going into the furthest reaches of what an opera company can be, both geographically and in terms of the kind of presentations that we're offering. So we're going to begin with a concert, the landmark of Italian verismo, Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana, which will perform one night only on May 15th at the Meadowbrook Amphitheater. Christine Goerke, our new associate artistic director, is in characteristic style, not coming to us with an easy assignment, something that she's already well known for, but instead is coming to us with a role debut. And I think that that in many ways characterizes exactly the kind of person Christine is, the kind of artist she is, and the way that we're all thinking about how we want opera to move forward. The kind of artists that are going to be coming to work with us will be stretching the boundaries of what they're thinking about opera and their own performance history. So having her start with this role debut as Santuzza is something that we're all really thrilled about. And as Wayne mentioned earlier, one of the central principles that I want to hold moving forward into this role and for MOT is the notion of collaboration with our partners in Detroit. And so we're just thrilled that Yadar Binyamini, the newly appointed music director of the DSO, will conduct the MOT orchestra and chorus in this performance. And I should say that this will be the first time in over a year that the MOT orchestra and chorus will be performing together. So this moment is going to be significant, and it's going to be a very, very special event. We hope you'll join us at the Meadowbrook Amphitheater. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at our website, so don't miss out on the chance to hear this performance. After Cavalleria in September, we'll kind of pick up where the opera leaves off with a tragedy that hits all too close to home. It's an opera that was the winner of the Music Critic Association of America's Award for Best Opera of 2020 after its 2019 premiere at Glimmerglass Opera, the opera Blue by Janine Tesori and Tazewell Thompson. Tazewell Thompson's libretto is inspired by Ta-Nehisi Coates and James Baldwin in the depiction of a Black family, a police officer, his wife, and their activist son. In Act 1, we see this family together and these wonderfully intimate, very Verismo-like scenes of community and family. At the intermission, the son is killed by police officers. Act 2 does not depict the violence, but instead shows the loss of this young man cut down far too early, a story that we see all too frequently in our own communities. And what Janine Tesori's engaging but emotionally charged music offers us is the opportunity to share in that catharsis and to be a part of that community. It's something that I think is going to be an incredible experience for our audience, partially because this will be the second live performance after a long time without live performance. So it's incredibly important for me and for the company that this becomes a piece that is so immediate for our audience and presented so soon. We'll be mounting this new production in an outdoor venue in Detroit, which we plan to announce along with full casting at the time of our May 15th concert of Cavalleria. But I would like to say that Kenneth Kellogg as the father and Aaron Crouch as the son will be reprising their roles with us for the 2 performances in September. At the helm of the production and making her MOT debut is the director Keneza Shaw, whose directing work is closely connected to her activism and her interest in creating work for a representational public. And joining her at the artistic leadership for this production is the conductor Daniela Candilari, who is also making her MOT debut after leading acclaimed performances with the New York Philharmonic and the Lyric Opera of Chicago. Our final piece for Act 1 isn't really an opera, but it's taken from an opera. The piece is called Bliss, and it's a work by Ragnar Kjartansson, who's an Icelandic artist. Again, in this performance, it's a durational experience in which 3 minutes from Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, namely that sublime moment at the very end of Act 4, when the Count asks forgiveness of the Countess, is stretched out into seemingly infinity, but actually 12 hours. So the live orchestra and the live singers perform this piece of 3 minutes over and over again for 12 hours to create a sense and a space of forgiveness and grace. And again, as a return to opera, return to live performance, in a way I can't think of a better way to introduce audiences back to what we've been missing than with one of the greatest moments of all opera in this suspended, beautiful moment. Ragnar has done this piece twice in New York with the Performa Festival and in Los Angeles with the LA Philharmonic as part of their Fluxus Festival. And he has very graciously invited me to recreate the performance in a way that's going to be very specific to Detroit. And again, it's going to be in a really exciting location that we're excited to announce soon. But I feel like as an idea, it's something that feels so important for the season as a whole, and the story that we're telling about what opera can be as we look forward to the next 50. Act 2, then, after we've been out and about, has us coming back home. And this idea of returning back to something that is familiar to us and yet transformed and changed through the experience that we've just been through. The first project will see us coming back to MOT's very first home, the music hall. And we're returning to the music hall with an audience favorite, Robert Javier Rodriguez's Frida. The role of Frida will be sung by Catalina Cuervo, who sang the role in 2015 to great acclaim. She'll be returning, and as well as with coming back with the production that Jose Maria Condemi staged in 2015. That production is returning. It was a surreal and sensual production that was a huge hit with audiences. And Suzanne Mallory-Acton is also returning to come back and to conduct the role again. Suzanne is certainly no stranger to MOT. In fact, she's been an integral part of MOT's musical life for quite a few years now. She is MOT's assistant music director, the chorus master, and the director of the children's chorus. So we're so glad to have her at the helm of the orchestra again when we return indoors for live performances. After that, and that's happening in February, and after that, we will come back to the Detroit Opera House in April of 2022. That means it will have been 2 years since we've heard a live performance in the Detroit Opera House. So what better way to return than with an opera that actually opened the Detroit Opera House with MOT, Puccini's La Bohème. Again, another classic of the Verismo school, everyday people, artists, bohemians in Paris. However, we're gonna do it a little differently this time around. This new production, which I'll be directing, is co-produced with Boston Lyric Opera. And it takes Puccini's opera and performs it in reverse order. We're gonna start with Act 4, and then do Act 3, and then do Act 2, and end with Act 1. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I think this is going to be a very exciting performance. And that will take a whole nother Zoom conversation. And I think there will be lots of opportunities for that. Instead, what I would like to say as to the why we're doing this, in many ways, I feel like starting with Act 4, ending with Act 1, starting with death and ending with love, ending with hope, it's a bit like where we are right now. We've been in this period of enormous tragedy and death, and yet opera can be a pathway to understanding how we move forward, that the emphasis being on love and hope. It's a little bit like hearing a favorite work of yours on shuffle, maybe, or if you have a record of La Bohème that you accidentally put the wrong side on, and all of a sudden you're starting with Act 4. But beyond that, it's also a little bit like a mystery novel or a kind of reverse chronology story to try and understand how we got to where we ended up. And the notion there, I think, is kind of similar to what Ragnar was doing with Mozart, taking the raw material of Mozart and giving it while being full of love for the original, attempting to look at it in a brand new way that can present how we truly experience our reality right now. The other great thing about this is that everybody who comes to see these performances of La Bohème will hear it as if it's brand new. It means every audience member gets a totally democratic experience of La Bohème, which I think for a piece that is as treasured as this is an enormous benefit. So this is a piece that I'm very excited to share, and I think it carries with it that spirit that even the familiar we hope to explore in unfamiliar ways to keep showing audiences how much these works can still tell us about who we are. And finally, and I think in many ways, the centerpiece of the season is a new production of Anthony Davis and Tulani and Kip Davis's opera X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, an opera first produced in 1986 at the New York City Opera, and now receiving a significant new production, co-produced with Opera Omaha. This is a work that was way ahead of its time in 1986, and a piece for so many reasons whose time has really come. And it is a tremendous honor for me to be shepherding this new production and bringing it onto the stage in a way that I think is going to be absolutely a milestone for this organization. Anthony Davis is most recently a Pulitzer Prize winner for his opera Central Park 5. And when he first wrote this, his first opera, this piece broke all the boundaries of what opera formerly was. It maybe most spectacularly includes a jazz ensemble who improvise along with the orchestra. So the textures and the musical ideas are absolutely fantastical and kaleidoscopic and exciting in a way that we want all opera to be. But this notion that Anthony took the story of Malcolm X and gave it this kind of a bold treatment is something that feels so of the moment and so right as we think about the kind of opera that we want to be seeing as we move forward. Malcolm X is a character and a historical figure who looms large in the consciousness of Detroit, partially because of Detroit's Temple Number 1, Nation of Islam's Temple Number 1, which is in Highland Park, but also the idea that Malcolm X grew up in Lansing and spent so many formative years in Michigan. At Betty Shabazz, his wife, also spending a lot of time and growing up in Detroit. Detroit is a major city in his chronology and in his own history. And the notion that we can present his story for the operatic stage at a time when his legacy is being re-examined for what it can tell us today. It's a complicated and controversial legacy, and it remains so even after his assassination in the 60s. And yet the notion that Malcolm X, his story, in a way similar to Frida's, is a story of transformation, the story of an everyday person who had so much potential and possibility and so many obstacles put in his path because of systemic racism, who overcame those obstacles, all those great odds, and nevertheless rose to the occasion, rose to be a best version of himself that ended up inspiring generations to come. This is a story that belongs to the operatic stage. It did in 1986, and it does even more now. And I am very excited that it is going to close our season for the 21-22 season. And as I mentioned, we have a fantastic cast lined up. I should also say that we, in addition to Anthony and Tulani and Kip at the creative helm, we have the director and conductor for this project are two fantastic artists that I'm so excited will be working on this. The stage director, Robert O'Hara, who is most recently Tony nominee for the play Slave Play. He'll be making his opera debut with this production. And at the helm of it musically is Kazim Abdullah, who was set to conduct Champion for us before, unfortunately, it had to be canceled. So I'm so glad we could bring him back so quickly to lead this particular production. The cast for X includes a number of fantastic singers. We have playing the role of Betty and Louise, we have Whitney Morrison, and as Elijah, Victor Robertson, and drum roll please, to play the role of Malcolm X, our artist in residence, Davóne Tines. This is going to be a really, really phenomenal performance, I'm sure, for Davóne, and I think a significant moment for Detroit. And Davóne, I thought this might be a great opportunity to turn the mic over to you to say a few words.
Thanks, Yuval. I'm deeply, deeply excited to join the MOT family as artist in residence, and also very, very excited to take on the role of Malcolm X a fearless champion of justice, especially in the city where so much of his life took place and so much of his work as a minister and organizer. And I'm excited to use this role of artist in residence to connect to the larger Detroit metro community. A city that's predominantly Black. I hope to spend a lot of time repeatedly with churches connected to Malcolm X's life, to Black-owned creative businesses, and to other civic leaders who are working to shape the Detroit metro area's cultural institutions. You know, coming out of this time, I think opera is at a very, very unique place. Some people fear that it's on a collision course with irrelevance and obscurity, but I think that we have an opportunity to push it towards its greatest potential and aspirations of being uniquely the only art form that pulls on every art form in order to tell a broader and beautifully inclusive reflection of human experience. And I'm so excited to be in community with the incredible Christine Goerke and Yuval Sharon in order to help bring this newer vision of opera to life. So see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Davóne. We can't wait to have you engaged with MOT and with Detroit over the course of the entire season. And of course, to wrap up the season with this performance of yours of Malcolm X. So that's our upcoming season. From the opera side of things, I want to take a moment to say that this season is only possible thanks to the very courageous leadership of an enormous group of sponsors that we're so grateful for everyone's involvement in making this season come to life. Thank you to everyone that you see on this screen, and many more acknowledgements of gratitude yet to come from my side of things. But as we all know, MOT is unique on the American landscape for both producing operas and presenting dance, and looking for ways in which live performance spreads across many different genres. And our dance director is here to tell you about the dance season. John Tawison, take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be with you today to announce our season for 21-22 with regards to dance. We have 5 offerings, and the centerpiece is actually 2 legendary American companies, both of whom have recently celebrated a 50-year anniversary, just like Michigan Opera Theater. The 2 companies are Dance Theater of Harlem and Ballet Hispanico. And even though they're culturally specific, they're uniquely American, and they're bringing really special programs to Detroit this upcoming season. First up will be Dance Theater of Harlem in January with a mixed repertoire program that will include 2 pieces, Passage and Higher Ground. Created specifically for Dance Theater of Harlem by choreographer Claudia Schreier, Passage recognizes the 400th anniversary of enslaved Africans arriving in Virginia in 1619, exploring the fortitude of the human spirit in this moving, complex contemplation. Passage was created to an original score by acclaimed composer Jesse Montgomery. Higher Ground, which was choreographed by Dance Theater of Harlem's resident choreographer Robert Garland, is to the music of Stevie Wonder, specifically songs penned during turbulent times. The piece pioneers the use of ballet as resistance art and showcases Garland's gift for musicality and his ability to incorporate contemporary and social dance into the neoclassical vernacular. Audience favorite Ballet Hispanico returns to the Opera House with the Detroit premiere of Donna Perón, The Rise and Fall of a Diva. This full-length ballet is based on one of the most spellbinding women of South American history. Eva Evita Perón rose from a dance hall performer to become the First Lady of Argentina, all before her untimely death at the age of 33. This new work is choreographed by Anabel Lopez Ochoa, one of the most sought-after female choreographers of our time. Ochoa has created ballets for some of the world's most respected dance companies, including Dutch National Ballet, Hong Kong Ballet, Pacific Northwest Ballet, San Francisco Ballet, and New York City Ballet. And she is internationally renowned for her choreography of A Streetcar Named Desire, which she created on the Scottish Ballet. Donna Perone is set to an original score composed by Peter Salem, which will be performed live. In addition to these performances at the Detroit Opera House, our dance offerings will also include Complexions in July of 2021, presented by Music Hall in their newly constructed amphitheater. This outdoor performance of Complexions features a relatively new work called Woke, which was created as a response to the recent senseless murders and social consciousness of today. Choreographed by co-founder and co-artistic director Dwight Roden, Woke is designed to acknowledge our differences and bring our hearts into the conversation. At a date to be determined, UMS, the University Music Society, has commissioned a new work by Kyle Abraham of his company AIM, Abraham in Motion, and the piece will be set to Mozart's Requiem. An esteemed choreographer, Abraham has received a Bessie, the dance equivalent of the Oscar, for his choreography, and was recognized by the New York Times for a pièce d'occasion that he created for New York City Ballet as a best dance of 2018. Last but not least on the dance offerings is the company Momix in April of 2022, presented by Music Hall at Music Hall. Artistic director Moses Pendleton invites you to fall down the rabbit hole with his newest creation, Alice. Not a complete telling of Alice in Wonderland, Alice encounters beloved characters from the White Rabbit to the Mad Hatter to the implacable Queen of Hearts. Pendleton describes Momix as a company of dance illusionists, and in Alice he creates a fantastic wonderland where the body has no limits and nothing is as it appears. Curious and curiouser, Momix presents an experience filled with vivid imagery, vibrant costumes, and awe-inspiring movement. And that will close our dance series for 2021-22. We want to thank our dance sponsors who have been extremely generous: Richard and Joanne Brody, Maxine and Stuart Frankel, Marvin, Betty, and Joanne Danto Family Foundation, and Kevin Dennis and Jeremy Seltzer. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Great lineup, Yuval and John, Christine, Davóne. Thank you so much for an exciting series of programs we can all look forward to. I'd like to remind members of our audience today that tickets will go on sale for our first production, first concert performance of Cavalleria Rusticana on May 15th. And I invite you to respond early, maybe early and often, and to be able to join us for that really exciting program to take place at Meadowbrook. As you know, as many of you know, season normally would take place beginning in the fall, going through the spring, but we knew that you were anxious to reconnect with opera, in-person opera performances, and Yuval has made that possible by focusing on good weather conditions, also a time when Christine could join us. And so that's where we will start our season this year in May and have it extend through June, as we described earlier. We'll be using a form of season flex passes in light of the various performance venues. And for that reason, the traditional role of a specific seat location for the duration of the season will not apply. But beyond that, I would like to again thank our sponsors for this season, thank our subscribers who've been so patient and so generous for so long, and particularly those whose association with MOT goes back to the earliest days. In fact, just before the pandemic, we had a little gathering, a luncheon, for those who were subscribers for 48 seasons of MOT. And that's just absolutely remarkable. And we look forward to re-engaging with all of you in the very near future. So we thank you for your time, and we thank you for the opportunity to share with you highlights of what has been prepared for your enjoyment, your participation, and we hope that we'll see you and see you often. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I hope you will come back again soon. Again, thank you, Yuval. Thank you, Christine, Davóne. We are so delighted to have that sense of participation, commitment, and energy that you all bring to MOT and to the Detroit community. So long.